Welcome to another episode of Nathan Builds Robots. Today we're going to be going over the best printers of 2023. I'm going to be doing an awards show format. It's going to be kind of like the Oscars, except instead of a bunch of washed up celebrities, we're going to be talking about 3D printers. I'll be naming a best printer in a number of categories, and for each category I'll be naming the best printer as well as a runner-up. And if you watch to the end of this video, I'll open this Kinder Egg and we'll get to see what's inside. Do you want to know what's inside the Kinder Egg? Also, I want to point out that a lot of these printers are on sale for Black Friday, so make sure to check the affiliate links down below. And before we get started with the awards, I want to give a huge thanks to today's sponsor, AnkerMake. Now, I know what you're thinking, Nathan, how can you be objective about what printers get awards when you're sponsored by one of the companies making printers? The M5C is AnkerMake's entry-level 3D printer. I was sent one for testing, and I was pretty impressed with the build quality. It's very well constructed. It's got a cast aluminum frame. One funny thing about the M5C is it's just got a single button to operate the printer. It's a play-pause button. If you want to do anything more complicated with the printer, you'll have to connect to it with your phone on the AnkerMake app. Fortunately, that's really easy to do. You just scan a QR code on the back of the phone and it pairs together. Currently, it's on sale at AnkerMake.com for $320. So go and pick one of those up if you're interested in getting one. Also, we have the AnkerMake M5, which is a slightly bigger and slightly smarter version of the M5C. It's got the same great build quality, but additionally, it's got a full-color touchscreen, so you can do more complex operations on the machine without having to use the app. And it's also got a built-in webcam, so you can monitor your prints and make sure everything's going all right. And it's even got some AI functionality to detect if your prints are going awfully wrong. This printer is also on sale for Black Friday. It's a whole $200 off, so, you know, 700 minus 200 equals $500 for that 3D printer. So if you want to pick one up, I think now would be a great time. Both of these printers are capable of high-speed printing, but the most exciting thing about both of these printers is their compatibility with the upcoming AnkerMake V6 color engine. I was fortunate enough to be able to see this in person at Formnext, and it's excellent. It's got a unique multicolor printing system. Basically, you've got 6 nozzles with 6 independent hot ends on the printer, and it's able to retract and deploy hot ends based on what color you want to print with. And all of the filaments are stored in this dry box, which, you know. Alright, so let's start things off by talking about the best entry-level printer. And that award, in my opinion, goes to the Ender 3 V3 SE, which is currently on sale for $180. I think there's actually an additional coupon that you can apply to get that price down even lower. I think if you're kind of wanting to get into 3D printing but don't have a lot of time or money, getting an Ender 3 is a great way to dip your toes in the water, and the feature set that you're getting on these modern Ender 3s is quite good. I remember when I was first getting into 3D printing 7 or 8 years ago, there really weren't a lot of good options on the market, and everything required quite a bit of tinkering. Nowadays, the Ender 3 lineup is fully matured into something that you can just buy, unbox, put together in a couple minutes, and start printing with it. This printer has no bed leveling knobs, there's no calibrations that you need to do. And what I like about the Ender 3 platform is it's just like a good standard size printer that runs at standard speeds, runs with a typical operating system, and all the exposed parts might not be the aesthetic that a lot of people are looking for, but having all of these open components I think is really good for beginners to 3D printing because you get to see how everything works. You get to see how adjusting those V-groove wheels can tighten onto the rail, and you can see how if you over-tighten them, they start building up a bunch of dust and breaking down rapidly. So it really just is a good opportunity to learn about how all those things work. So in terms of being a great entry-level 3D printer and a great way to get into the hobby without too much investment, I think the Ender 3 V3 SE is probably one of the best options out there. I think it makes more sense to get something cheaper and really learn the ropes on this machine. You might make some mistakes and break some things, and it's a lot cheaper to break a machine at this price point than something that's more expensive. Alright, and for the runner-up of the best entry-level printer, I'm going to go with the Elegoo Neptune 4 Plus. So if you get something like this is going to be a lot more full-featured than that Ender 3 V3, but you're going to have a lot more overhead to print out large objects. So if you're interested in doing stuff like cosplay or working on mechanical projects where you want to make useful functional prints out of PLA or PETG, something like this is going to be excellent. I was tempted to put the Neptune 4 on here, but I would definitely push you more towards just going straight for the Neptune 4 Plus because it's quite a bit bigger, so it unlocks that ability to print truly large objects. It has great print quality, it's very fast. It runs Clipper and has a Wi-Fi chip on there, so you can log onto it from your computer and control things remotely. I'd say if you're a more advanced user and you're getting into 3D printing, something like this would be great because it'll really grow with you, and it's going to be something that you'll find useful even if you buy something like a more expensive Bamboo Lab machine down the line. Maximum printing speed, 500 millimeters per second. Nozzle goes up to 300 degrees Celsius, so you're not going to have to worry about having to upgrade the nozzle to be able to print stuff like carbon fiber nylon. And having that Wi-Fi capability and running Clipper, and there's just a lot of good things about this machine. So this printer is currently on sale for $350. All right, so the next category is the quietest, most stealthiest printer on the market. I'm gonna have to give it to the Adventure 5M Pro. While this thing was actually running and printing at these high speeds, it was extremely quiet. Looks like it's between 50 and 53 decibels, depending on how fast the print head is moving. If you compare this to basically any other high-speed Core XY printer, this thing is quieter while still being just about as fast. Also, stealthiness in this case isn't just limited to noise. This thing also smells less than other printers, which sounds like a weird thing to say. But it's got a pretty good internal filtration system where it'll recirculate the air, and those filters are going to remove those tiny particles of plastic out of the air that you can normally smell. So that's why it's going to win the most stealthiest printer award. Printers are a lot quieter than they used to be. I mean, back in the day we had loud stepper motors, and they'd almost make it feel like my ears were bleeding if I listened to them for long enough. And although this technically isn't a printer, I'm going to have to give a honorary mention to Noctua fans. I've replaced power supply fans, hot end fans, part cooling fans, motherboard fans, basically any fan that exists on a 3D printer. You can probably replace it with a Noctua equivalent. One thing I want to point out is Noctua has recently released these Noctua step-down voltage controllers. These are like $20 or so, and it's just an inline adapter that you plug one end in, running 24 volt power, you plug the other end in with your 12 volt Noctua fan, and it's able to run these 12 volt Noctua fans off of 24 volt sources, which is a pretty big deal if you're into 3D printer modding, because most 3D printers run on 24 volts, and most Noctua fans run off 12 volts. Definitely check these out if you're interested in doing silent fan mods. And also, if you're interested in doing silent fan mods on an Ender 3 S1 or similar printer that's using that Sprite hot end with its breakout board, consider checking out my modder board. Ender 3 S1s had this kind of proprietary breakout board with tiny little connectors. It was kind of hard to do upgrades on it, so I developed this modder board, and it allows you to make mods more easily. Check that out if you're interested in doing modifications on your Ender 3 S1 style printers. Let's get to the best very large format printer. Now, this isn't just large format printing, this is very large format printing. So I'm going to define that as being 400 millimeters and above on your build tray. There's a couple printers that qualify for this category. You've got the CR-M4, you got the Anycubic Cobra 2 Max, which I actually have that one in for review right now and I've been printing with it. And then you've got the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max. They make sense for a lot of people, but overall there's a printer that kind of outshines it a little bit, and that's going to be the RatRig V-Core 3.1 that you configure to be a 500 by 500 millimeter printer. Keep in mind this is a kit printer, but this thing is absolutely massive when you get it all put together, and being a high-speed Core XY printer, that makes this one of the most capable printers in terms of size and performance. I went through and did the configurator here. It ended up being about 1,600 euros, which would probably be a little under $2,000 once you include shipping. That's a pretty good deal for a gigantic fast printer. And the runner-up for best ultra-large format 3D printer has got to be the Orange Storm Giga. Unfortunately, you can't get one of these right now. This thing is supposed to be an 800 by 800 by 1000 millimeter build volume. That's just crazy. This is one of the craziest printers that was announced this year, and I'm really excited to see these things hit the market next year. All right, and let's get into another category, and we're going to call this one the most correct mechanical design. And for that one, I'm going to give the award to the AnkerMake M5C. I completely disassembled this thing on a live stream, just looking at every component, and they've done a great job with this machine. Between that cast aluminum base that's extremely solid, they did some post-processing machining to make the V-groove wheel slots on there. I just think they did an outstanding job with the mechanical design of this machine. They even used dowel pins to locate the two pillars so that they're always installed the same way. You won't have any issues with misalignment. On most 3D printers, like if you've ever put together an Ender 3 or other similar kind of printer like that, you have to make sure that everything's square and perpendicular, but with this, it just goes together by design. The runner-up in this category, I mean, it's going to be the Bambu Lab A1 Mini. They've done a lot of innovative stuff on this design, like the quick nozzle change system that they have there. You basically unclip the nozzle, you can remove it and put a new one on in no time. You don't have to deal with any wires because the heating element and the thermistor are built into the print head. I mean, they've just done a lot of really clever stuff with this design. Although I don't love the multi-material implementation they've done on this printer, at least they're trying and they're, putting something new out there on the market. So that deserves props. I mean, they've done a lot of cool stuff with this machine and I think it deserves some recognition. One thing that I haven't heard anyone talk about is the fact that they have a load cell on the Y-axis belt. So, as you may know, on a bed slinger, you've got two independent moving parts when you're doing a print. You've got the X-axis, which moves back and forth like this, and then the Y-axis, which moves forwards and backwards in the case of a bed slinger. Now, if you want to do input shaping correctly, you need to have an accelerometer on the tool head and on the print bed so that you run input shaping on those independently, and then you characterize the system and you're able to cancel out any vibrations or overshooting. On this printer, they don't use an accelerometer on the print bed. They have an accelerometer up top in the print head, I believe, but for the heated bed, they're actually using a load cell on the belt. And if you've studied physics, you know that force equals mass times acceleration. So by measuring the tension on the belt, they can back calculate the amount of force that is being applied to the bed, and doing some complex math, they can figure out how to do input shaping based on the force readings that they're getting from that sensor. Now, I'm not 100% sure that that's how all of that works, but I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and that's how I would do it. It's just very clever. I haven't reviewed one of these personally, but I'm really excited to get one of these on the channel for review, so I've actually ordered one. Should be getting here next month, and I'll have a full review ready sometime in December. Alright, now let's get to the best printer for ABS, nylon, and entry-level engineering grade materials. I saw a lot of industrial grade machines last week at Formnext. Some require a heated chamber that's over 200 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely bonkers. But in terms of delivering a machine that's able to print large ABS parts, carbon fiber nylon without any issues, and all sorts of higher temp materials, I think the one company that's really doing that better than anyone else at the sub $1,000 price point has got to be Cheaty Tech. So Cheaty Tech, they have the X Plus 3 and the X Max 3. I'm just going to lump those two together because they're basically the same printer, just in a different size and form factor. The reason why I'm not mentioning them in a lot of the other categories is because I just don't really like the look and feel of the machines. They're just a little bit too bulky. They take up more space than other equivalent build volume machines, and they have a really plasticky feel. But what they're lacking in build quality and refinement, they're more than making up for in terms of performance, features, speed, and high temperature capabilities. These are pretty much the only printers in their price range that have an actively heated chamber. So they've actually got a chamber heater in there that's bumping the temperatures up to like 65 degrees or something. That elevated internal chamber temperature really helps when you're printing ABS parts or anything that's prone to warping or shrinking. It's going to give you better dimensional stability, and it's also going to produce stronger parts because basically there'll be less internal stresses due to the thermal expansion and contraction. These are some of the best printers for printing ABS, nylon, and entry-level engineering grade filaments in this price point. The X Plus 3 is on sale for $589 right now, and the X Max 3 is on sale for $900. And they're including the shipping price in that price estimate there. So it's a very inexpensive machine for how much printer you're getting. The runner-up for this one is going to be the Bambu Lab X1E. The reason why the X1E is only a runner-up and doesn't win this category is because of its price tag. I think it's like $2,500 or so. They're really looking towards selling that to enterprise-level customers, so companies that are printing things professionally. I'd have a hard time spending over $2,000 on a printer with a 250 by 250 build volume. It's just a little outside of my ideal price point. Alright, and the Best Value Printer Award is going to go to the Creality K1 and K1 Max. A lot of people think that the K1 is just a clone of the Bambu Lab machines, and there's a pretty strong argument that that was the case. It's a Core XY machine, enclosed with a lot of ease of use features. The bed leveling system that they use is extremely identical. I mean, it's basically lifted straight off the Bambu Lab machines. Overall, I'd say it offers a different value proposition than those Bambu Lab machines. I don't think they're quite as refined or reliable as the Bambu Lab P1P or P1S or X1C that it's competing with, but I mean, that price point is just crazy. Creality has always been one of the best price to performance printers on the market. That's really kind of the niche that they go for. I had a couple issues with mine. It hasn't been a perfect printer, but I got a very early review model of this, and they've probably worked out a lot of the bugs since then. A lot of people I've talked to have had really great experiences with their K1s. Some people have had not so great experiences. So, you know, build quality might be a little suspect, but for the price, $400, and there's an additional coupon, which I'll include a link to in the description below. I think it'll take $20 off of this price with free shipping. That's just an insane deal. Also, on top of that, someone was telling me that if you sign up for a newsletter, you can get an additional 20% off. That's unconfirmed. This might be fake news, but if someone knows how to do that, leave a comment in the description down below and we'll check it out. But yeah, this is an incredible deal for a high-speed Core XY printer with excellent part cooling, high volumetric flow rates, high print speeds, high accelerations, automatic bed leveling, great bed material, great user interface. I mean, they're trying really hard to make this a good product because it's kind of like the future of Creality depends on this being a good printer. So they've really invested a lot into this machine, and I think it offers outstanding price to performance. So if you're interested in getting a high-speed Core XY printer, I think this K1 right now is probably the best deal on the market at this point in time. And with this printer, you should be able to print PLA, ABS, PETG, all the basic filaments, as well as some higher temperature ones too. If you already have a Creality K1 or K1 Max, it might be worth checking out this hot end upgrade that Microswiss just came out with. They've developed their own leak-proof nozzle design. It's kind of like a proprietary nozzle that combines the threaded nozzle part with the heat break, and it's supposed to be just a drop-in replacement on the K1. I did a factory tour with them about a month ago, so if you want to see how 3D printer nozzles and extruder gears are made, that'd be a great video to check out. There's also the K1 Max, which I'm just kind of lumping in together with this K1. You know, it's got the same features in terms of speed and performance and acceleration as the K1, but it's in that larger size. I will say that mine, again, I get these machines super early. Mine was having an issue where the bed leveling wasn't working perfectly, but apparently they've fixed that in the firmware since then, so I'll have to revisit maybe at the same time as I install this hot-end upgrade kit. But for $719, that's a pretty good deal. I believe there's an additional coupon code that you can apply to this to get that price down even a little bit more. Now let's get into the next category, the best multi-material system. Going back in time, I mean, the original multi-material systems were typically dual extruder setups where you had two nozzles on one print head and you could alternate between different materials. Then we had IDEX printers, so it's two independent print heads and you can put one material in one and another material in the other. Lots of different multi-material solutions at the moment, but I'll have to say that the most impressive and the most deserving of the best multi-material system award is going to have to go to the AnkerMake V6 color engine. I mean, that thing is just so darn cool. Little to no material waste, no wasted time. The AnkerMake V6 color engine is really going to be a game changer. I decided that it was going to win this award before I talked to AnkerMake about sponsoring this episode. You can have a high-speed printer and print things really fast, but if it takes 2 minutes to change colors and you're having to do that at least one time per layer, probably multiple times per layer if you're doing like a 3 or 4 color print, then you're going to be wasting a ton of time and material just extruding plastic out into the waste bin. But in practice, I think the best solution has been the Bambu Lab AMS. I mean, that's the only one that's really on the market right now, selling in massive quantities, and has been very reliable as far as I've heard. The issue there is the amount of material waste. So it's not something that you're going to want to use unless you've like really planned out what you're going to do with that extra filament that's being wasted. You can print to a purge model, but in reality, what ends up happening for most people is you print your models and then you end up dumping like an equal amount of plastic just into a pile that you end up throwing away or recycling or whatever. And I just think that's kind of wasteful. I have an AMS. I just haven't been interested in using it because of how much waste I've seen it produce and the difficulty required to set it up. I think something like the AnkerMake V6 color engine is going to be much better because it can change materials in a couple of seconds. It's just impressive. So I think it's scheduled to be launched in December in terms of fulfilling their Kickstarter deliveries. And then they're going to be shipping those as like a regular item that they stock on their website. So really excited to see more of that. Now, Bambu Lab, the AMS, is going to be the runner-up here. In reality, in practical terms, it really has been the multi-material system of the year. There's so many companies working on the multi-material problem right now, it's insane. They see Bambu Lab making all this money selling a $350 basically glorified spool holder that allows people to do multi-material printing. And they're like, man, we want a piece of that pie. Some companies sell entire printers for $350, but Bambu Lab can just sell you an injection molded box with 4 little motors inside of it that hold onto your spools and feed them in. They're making a ton of money selling those things, so it's very impressive. But I think that system is a stepping stone to more advanced systems that'll produce less waste and be able to change colors faster. But you really got to give tribute to Bambu Lab for paving the way to making multi-material printing mainstream. All right, and the award for the all-around best 3D printer of 2023, that's just going to be good for basically everything you can throw at it. It's going to offer great value, high print speeds, great print quality, good user experience, lots of material compatibility. I mean, in order to be the best printer of 2023, you have to be something special. And I think that award has to go to the Bambu Lab P1S. This printer is on sale right now for $600, and it comes with 2 free spools of filament. That's probably the best deal you'll get on a Bambu Lab printer. They do charge you for shipping on the Bambu Lab website. That's one thing I noticed, is that most companies offer free shipping. For this printer, I believe it's a $30 shipping and handling fee. I think that's still a reasonable price, even including the shipping and handling. If you want to get that in the combo kit with the AMS on top, you save an additional $100 on top of the $100 off that it is right now for Black Friday. So, I mean, this is going to be one of the best deals you can get on a Bambu Lab 3D printer. The reason why I've never been quite so much of a fan of the X1C is, despite it being, a great printer, everybody has attested to the fact that it's a very reliable printer, really nice to use. The problem with that printer has got to be the price tag. It's typically $1,200 plus that $30 shipping, so essentially $1,230. Right now it's on sale for $1,080 including shipping. And even at this discounted price, that's still a pretty steep price tag. Main problem that I have with most of Bambu Lab's lineup is the fact that they're a little bit more expensive than the competition. But with this sale and this more budget P1S model being less expensive to begin with, I think you're finally getting a pretty reasonable deal from Bambu Lab. There's one huge caveat for this printer, and Bambu Lab in general, is that they're really thirsty for your data. Just to buy a printer, you have to create an account and you have to give them your email address, your shipping address, all your information. In order to just connect the printer to the Wi-Fi, you have to get the app on your phone, which requires you to download their app, create an account, agree to the terms of service. I mean, I've been kind of frustrated with how much data Bambu Lab is kind of farming from all their customers. As long as you're okay with giving up a little bit of your privacy and you're okay for paying a little bit more than the competition, then Bambu Lab will offer a really good user experience for you. Last caveat for this 3D printer that really prevents it from being a really excellent printer has got to be this user interface. I mean, what are they thinking with this little remote control device looking thing? I mean, come on, just put a full color touchscreen on there. If Creality can afford to put a full color touchscreen on their K1 and sell it for $400, then surely you can afford to do it on this machine here. For my Bambu Lab P1P, I have 2 of them. One of them Bambu Lab sent to me. The other one I purchased myself. And the Wi-Fi module has broke, which has made it very difficult to use because of the limited user interface on this machine. At the end of the day, it's a solid machine. It's very well built, mechanically speaking. And it's really pushing the industry forward. If I have to pick a runner-up for best all-rounder, I don't know. I guess I'll just say a Voron V0. People really like these tiny printers. You can get one from Matter Hackers for $650, it looks like here. It looks like the Fistech kit is the most popular one. but it's from a bunch of different online resellers. I mean, it's an open source design, so basically anyone can put a kit together and sell it. If I had the time and attention to building a 3D printer like this, I think this would be a really fun project printer. And you can basically mod it to do whatever you want, except for printing large objects. You're just going to have to settle with dealing with tiny things. Okay, well, that's all for this episode. I've got a couple of Easter eggs for everyone who stayed till the end, but also I want to talk about some honorable mentions. These are printers that aren't really fitting into my other categories, but I really want to bring them up. So the first one I'd like to bring up is the 3D printer most likely to disappoint Kickstarter backers. And that's going to be the Poly Magneto X. I mean, it's got linear motors. It sounds like a really exciting design. I don't know, rotary motors are pretty good. I want to give another award to the best orange printer. And this is going to go to... Actually, it's a three-way tie. We've got the Prusa Mini, the Prusa MK4, and the Prusa XL. They're all tied for the best orange printer award. And then we've got the fastest print speed award. Now, if this was open to any printer, you know, I'd have to choose between Albert from 24/7 Printing or Matt, the 3D printing nerd. Both of them have built extremely fast Core XY printers based on open source designs. I want to kind of limit this to production printers, or at the very least kit printers that you can buy and assemble yourself. The fastest print speed award is going to go to the FL Sun S1 high-speed Delta printer. Here's a picture of this thing. Apparently it's $0, so that's an incredible deal. Apparently this is launching in 3 days. By the time you see this video, it might be out already. You can see it's got a CPAP style hose here, so that's probably going to be part cooling for an insanely fast printer. It's a high-speed Delta printer. There's not a whole lot that's known about it right now. You can see this kind of speed progression that they're trying to tell a story about. And for this to really be the next step that's worth making a big deal about, I feel like this has to go for 1,000 millimeters per second print speeds. That's right, 1 meter per second. I'm not sure if that's what they're actually going to deliver, but that's what would make sense to me. And this looks like it's going to be an insanely fast printer. The Printer with an Identity Crisis Award is going to go to the Snapmaker Artisan, or the Snapmaker A350. Basically, anything in the Snapmaker line that's trying to be a 3D printer, a laser cutter, and a CNC machine at once. I mean, just pick one and do it well. Don't pick three and make it way overpriced and kind of crappy at everything. The Snapmaker J1 is a dedicated IDEX printer. I would like to get one in for review, but I doubt that's ever going to happen, due to the extent that I burned that bridge. Also, I wanted to give an award to the best printer that isn't great. And what I mean by that is that it's just right on the cusp of being a great printer, but in reality it's one that I'd have a hard time recommending. And that's going to go to the Anycubic Cobra 2 series. On paper, they've got excellent specs, very fast printers, great feature set, great build quality. But there's one issue, and that's with their automatic Z-axis offset calibration. Most 3D printer manufacturers have gone to a system where they use a load cell and they touch the bed, and then they figure out the distance between the nozzle and the bed. Anycubic went for a slightly different approach where they've got like this button at the back of the printer that it pushes the button. And in my experience, it doesn't work. I mean, it works, but it doesn't work properly. So you're not going to get perfect first layers. You're just going to get okay first layers. And it's like, you've gone through all the effort to put together a really nice package, but then you put one little thing on there that doesn't work properly, and you expect people to just accept that. And I say no. If you want to have an automatic Z-axis offset calibration, you have to do it properly. All right, and the award for the most expensive printer under $300 goes to the Bambu Lab A1 Mini. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, technically, the A1 Mini is under $300. It's a $299 MSRP. But then you add the shipping cost, so that's an extra $15. Then there was this kind of weird and almost kind of shady business practice of not allowing you to buy the printer by itself. You had to buy it with the AMS Lite kit, which brought the price up to like $460. Most people, after tax, probably ended up paying over $500 for this $300 printer. It kind of annoys me when they plaster all over the place, $299, $299, $299. And then the only way you can buy it is to pay $460 for it. So yeah, the most expensive 3D printer under $300 is the Bambu Lab A1 Mini. All right, and the worst printer award goes to anything that uses resin. That's right. Anything that uses resin and cures it with lasers or, you know, whatever, as long as it's using that stinky goo, I don't want it in my office. I'm a FDM only kind of guy at this point in time, just because I don't like those resin printers, you know. They smell bad. You get toxic chemicals all over the place. You don't know what to do with the waste. And the most likely to blind users award goes to Unenclosed Laser Engravers. Pretty self-explanatory here. I'm not a fan of unenclosed laser engravers. I'm pretty sure I have a couple new floaters in my eyes. I don't know if you know what floaters are, but they're basically scabs that form on the inside of your eyeball that detach from your retina and float around inside of your eyeball. Under certain lighting conditions, it's like, hey, what's that? And it's like, yeah, that's a floater because, I don't know. It's either because I'm getting old or because I stared at the laser too much while it was running. But yeah, I mean, better safe than sorry. I would pretty much never recommend using an unenclosed laser for any reason, just because your eyesight is much more valuable than whatever stupid trinket you're trying to build. And last minute speculation, I want to go over what I think is coming next from all the 3D printer manufacturers. I think in 2024 we're going to see basically every 3D printer manufacturer, or at least every major 3D printer manufacturer, have a multi-material system or a multicolor printing system of some sort. Ever since Bambu Lab came out and proved that market, everybody's been trying to catch up and design their own solutions. So they're finally starting to come to fruition, and I think next year we'll start to really see a lot of them come out. Also, the Bambu Lab A1 Mini is going to be increased in size. I mean, the most obvious thing to do would be to just add a second support over on the other side and come out with the Bambu Lab A1 Non-Mini. They can raid the parts bin and reuse the same 256 by 256 build tray that the rest of Bambu Lab's product lineup uses. And that'll probably sell for around, I would say $400. That'll be a very aggressive price point for them to hit, but I think they'll do it because they've already amortized the cost of its development by coming out with the A1 Mini. So basically, you just have to pay for the extra materials in order to produce the larger version of that. Also, I would expect to see an A1 Max maybe way further on down the line. Maybe 365 millimeters. Yeah, 365 by 365. We're calling it now. And then there's going to be the X2 series from Bambu Lab. So you're going to have the next generation of their Core XY machines. That'll be coming in the first or second quarter of next year. That's probably going to be featuring a lot of the upgrades that we saw in the Bambu Lab A1 Mini, as well as offering a larger size option that everybody's been begging for. If Bambu Lab announced a larger Core XY printer tomorrow, then tomorrow they'd have 1,000 orders in the first second because everybody wants a larger Bambu Lab printer. Hopefully they'll finally deliver that next year. We already covered that FL Sun high-speed printer, probably going to be printing at 1 meter per second, which is absolutely insane. Creality, I'm not sure what they're working on now. FlashForge, I think they'll probably be coming out with an IDEX or multi-print head version of the FlashForge Adventure 5M. Elegoo is working on a lot of cool stuff. They've got the Orange Storm, as well as the rest of the Neptune 4 lineup that they're producing. Those will be going into full production. And then there's going to be a lot of stuff that no one can predict. Products coming out, new technologies being developed. I mean, it's just a really exciting time. And I'm glad to be a commentator in this sport of 3D printer development. There's just so much cool stuff going on right now. Maybe we'll see some metal 3D printing that you can do at home. I mean, anything's possible, right? Okay, well, thanks for watching this episode of Nathan Builds Robots. I hope you had fun. Thanks to AnkerMake for sponsoring this video. Check out the affiliate links in the description down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy Thanksgiving and happy Black Friday shopping. Make sure to click those links. All right, bye. Wait, oh, we forgot about the Kinder Egg, so let's see.